Thank you all for journeying back into the land of Zoom meetings and for joining us here for this annual meeting of PAM. It's a joy to be here. I'm Mark Kemp. I'm the current president of the board for PAM. And this is the end of, well, coming up on the end of my second year. So I'm enjoying seeing all the progress that we've made, all the steps forward, all the little steps forward that we have made in PAM with the board and as an organization. I'm grateful that you all are here because you all are undoubtedly the people who have made these small steps along the way that have added up to big steps. And today, that's why we're gathered. We're here to celebrate those things that we've seen move from point A to point B, to celebrate the people who have been a part of it, and to share in some good time and good news together, and to know what God is doing in the midst of PAM, with PAM, and through PAM. So before we jump too far into our conversation, let's open together with a prayer. God, we give you thanks that you are among us, that you work in our midst, and that you have gathered us together as leaders in your church. And we know that you call us to those experiences, but you don't call us to do these things alone. And for that, you have given us one another, and you have given us this great organization of PAM. So as we celebrate the way that you act and that you work among us and the great things that you are doing and that we get to bear witness to and that we get to share our experience, we give you great thanks for all those ways and for the things that you have yet to do among us, for the ways that you dream and the way that you draw us into your greater kingdom. We thank you this day and for the days to come. Be with us all as we do this important work, and let us do it together in confidence that you guide us in everything that we do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. So I will tell you that this is one amazing organization, and it has been a joy for the past 2 years, 4 years, 15 years to work with this PAM board and with all of you as leaders in the organization. We have an amazing board right now, and we are welcoming new board members. The results of our election are in, because we had an election, and Emily Floyd, oh no, I'm not supposed to do that yet. Sorry, I got out of sync with my slides. Before we talk about the new member or the new officer election, I want to reach back and talk about the goals that the board considered or landed together in back in 2023 as we met in the winter in Pittsburgh. This was the second time we've had some visioning work to do together. The first was in 2020, in January of 2020. And the board met together in the mountains of Georgia and came up with some lofty goals. And the board has done that before. It spent time together dreaming and finding ways that the organization would continue its great work. Kelly likes to say that the difference between that time and other times is that the board then did those things. And the work in that visioning drew us together again in 2023, where we took steps towards new visions. We celebrated the things that had been accomplished, and we pondered together what that meant for us and working in the years to come. So these goals we presented last time, but we start our board meetings talking about how everything that we do comes back to these visions. Equipping and investing in the next generation of leadership, which is very evident in the work that is happening in PAM with the First Call community. You'll see later some numbers about the First Call pastors and now First Call musicians that have been brought together. We had our first face-to-face meeting at Columbia Seminary in February. And it was a wonderful time to share together, to show how PAM can be a resource for these worship leaders, and identifying ways that PAM can support them and what they're doing. We are also finding new ways for new leadership to be a part of PAM and the regional and national level. So expanding our leadership and inviting people to be a part of that is one of our big goals. We are working on ways now to investigate, understand, and elevate diverse worship styles in our work. That is our next frontier, and we're finding ways not for PAM to bring those things into our work, but to go out and experience them where they organically happen, to understand those styles in places that aren't in our conferences, so to speak, and to not co-opt them, but to experience them as they are, and then point to them as resources. Our region leadership is doing a great job of supporting the success of our membership. Our regions are having wonderful events that highlight the skills and leadership of the membership as it is. So that's a strong thing, that we are a member-driven organization right now, and we are a member purposed organization right now, where we celebrate one another and we build our bonds more strongly in community that way. And above all, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging are being infiltrated into every part of PAM. This isn't a single committee's work. This isn't a single facet of what the board investigates, but the new formation of a DEIB roundtable that will look both internal, external, past and present and future at all of the work of PAM, and to find ways that we can be more faithful in including everyone in our conversations and in our experiences. That is an overarching theme of everything that we do in PAM, not just in one small place. So the board has done significant work to make these 4 goals and visions part of what we are doing on a regular basis and what guides us all along in everything that we do. I hope that that brings you to questions. I hope that you are able to see how those things are evident in the current work of PAM. But later in our meeting time together, there'll be a time that you can ask questions. So if things bubble up from what we're saying, please write those down and be sure to share them with the group. And if we don't have an answer for you, we will find an answer, or we will invite you to be a part of the answer, is one of my favorite things to say. So keep track of these things as we roll along. As I said, working with this board and working with the leadership of PAM has been a great joy over the past few years. And it's time for some new leaders to come in as our leadership rotation moves. So our incoming board members, I'm going to ask Emily Floyd, who is our incoming president and current president-elect. Emily, would you introduce our new officers?
Yes, it is my pleasure. I very much look forward to the next couple of years as president. So thank you for believing in me, and I look forward to connecting with all of you. And on the call, or on the meeting, is Josh Taylor, our president-elect. Josh is at First United Methodist Church of Denton, Texas. Josh is very complimentary of PAM and what PAM has done in his life. And so he is eager to join as a board member and as president-elect. Welcome, Josh. And the 2 at-large members that we welcome to the board for their term is Carl Zinsmeister, who's at White Memorial Presbyterian Church in Raleigh. You may have seen Carl at many Montreat conferences, wrangling bells and doing all kinds of volunteer work. Carl is very deeply invested in PAM and is eager to serve as well. Annette Gord is pastor in Clarksville, Virginia, at First Pres there. I think I have that right. Pastor of Clarksville Presbyterian Church. And we are so excited to have a pastor on the board, and she is eager to get involved. Particularly, we will involve Annette with some of our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives. So welcome to Carl, Annette, Josh, and to me.
Thank you, Emily, and thanks to those folks who are a part of the nominating committee doing the work to get this slate together. That work continues with nominating a new nominating committee. So we are intentional about the work that's going on. And let me say that the process, the structure of the work of the board, this is a testament to it, that we have found a sweet spot with how things move along and how the system works. And knowing that the work that nominating committee did brought us to this point. We should also mention that Beth Parler will be coming on for another term as board secretary. And Beth is amazing. And I'm grateful for the work that she's done over the past 2 years. And I'm grateful that she's will be continuing with the board. So Emily, Beth, and everyone coming along and everyone who's been a part of this, thank you so much. Part of the new officer positions is a treasurer. We haven't always had a treasurer in PAM, and we are blessed for our second treasurer that I know since I've been a part of the board, that Brent Ivy is the one who filled that role now. And Brent, would you share with us some good news? Oh, doggone, y'all, my notes get all out of whack. But Brent.
No. Go back.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
I don't know that I can. I did. Yes.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Before we get
No.
into Brent, let's share some highlights, because these are the things that this is the front side of what a budget empowers and makes happen. These numbers are incredible. 1,431 members. That's a lot of members, and that's a great membership for us. 1,469 attendees at last year's 2023 Worship and Music Conference. Our donor total, which you'll hear more about, and our sustaining donors, that's the lifeblood of PAM. And that's what keeps us from being so dependent on our conference work, that you as individuals, you that are here as a part of this meeting, support the work of PAM in your giving. Scholarships, 132 scholarships. That comes mostly from our scholarship fund, that we work hard to identify people who need those scholarships to be a part of the work of PAM, to attend conferences, to attend regional gatherings, to bring in first call pastors, to bring in seminarians into the work of PAM, and extend some hospitality so that people can know the work of PAM. We've mentioned earlier the first call community. Over the course of we're now in the fourth year, there have been 72 new worship leaders who have been introduced to PAM through the first call community. That is bearing fruit. Just yesterday, we gathered online for what we call hallway conversations. And in that, we talked about curating liturgy. We talked about what to do for an associate first call pastor who's stepping in as a head of staff goes on sabbatical. We talked about what to do as worship leaders in a community that is finding its way to gracefully step aside, and what to do with those resources. So these conversations are invaluable for new worship leadership, for new pastors and musicians. That's extended beyond pastors to include musicians now. There are 34 active certified church musicians through the PAM certification process. This is a wonderful snapshot, and this shows how PAM is working beyond 2 weeks in June. There's so much more happening in this organization, and it's very important. And I'm grateful for the ways that you support it and the places you find to lead in these efforts. Now, Brent, are you ready?
Thank you, Mark. No, I wanted folks to see those meaty numbers. It is an amazing time in the organization, and like Mark alluded to, so much of our finances, right? That's the springboard. That's some of the information behind these really remarkable numbers that are in front of you at the moment. So for the 5th year in a row, PAM has ended the year with a net operating surplus. I've been doing a little dance, and I hope you can do one with me. Because what you don't see are the years prior, right? You see 3 years here, but what you don't see are the years prior when we relied heavily on our reserves to meet our year-end deficits. And we did so to the point that we almost depleted our reserves. But by the end of 23, if we were to contribute the surplus that we have to the operating reserve, we would have just shy of 300,000 sitting in that fund. And that means that PAM is in a very solid position to weather a storm should it head our way. And I probably should say when it does head our way, it's part of life. We're able to get to this point through a lot of work by our leadership in the national office. We had staff reductions, frugal operations, and a really concerted effort to reach out to our constituents, get them to the conferences, and get them more involved in what PAM has to offer. And as Mark alluded, you'll hear more about the regions here in just a moment. Up at the top there, you'll see a significant increase in our conference revenue. And again, as Mark alluded, one of our goals, we have our sights set on diversification of our efforts and revenue resources. And so while that increase might belie that goal, what we're seeing is this steady increase in conference attendance as we came out of the COVID pandemic. So back to the numbers, we had 108 more conference attendees in 23 over 22. And that's a very healthy thing. We could not be more pleased. And it certainly is not in any way detracting from our efforts to reach and resource people out there that we want involved in PAM. I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the significant increase in our contributions to our annual fund. I think Bill may be speaking a little bit to that later. But as you saw in the numbers, 51 of our 512 donors are sustainers who make monthly contributions to PAM. And so thank you, Bill and Kelly and the development committee. We have 127 more members in 23 than we did in 22. And I would love to turn many of those into sustaining members for this fine organization. So if any of you on this call are not a sustaining donor, please consider stepping up and making a regular contribution to this very fine organization. While you don't see a balance sheet in front of you, I do want to highlight that outside of the reserves that I mentioned earlier, the 300,000-ish in reserves in our operating, we have over $1 million in restricted funds that, among other things, allow us to grant the scholarships that Mark mentioned, and also provide for stipends for some of our faculty at our conference in Montreat. So this year we granted 10 more scholarships in 23 over 22. This is a hugely exciting time for the organization. I remember a time when the treasurer or the person presenting the finances presented a very different picture than the one that we're seeing today. And we owe a huge debt, Kelly, the national staff, for their amazing leadership and their amazing work to get us to this point. It's an honor and a privilege to serve this organization as its treasurer. If you have questions after looking at the financials, I welcome your call, your email, your text, and I'd be happy to connect with you in some way. Thank you all.
Brent, thank you so much. Brent is a wonderful breath of fresh air among us in all of our meetings, and Brent does fine work. I count to 4 and start over, and it's great to have someone who continues to count higher and keep our numbers straight. So, Brent, always grateful for you. And as Brent said, the work that our national office does is quite amazing. We, as a board and as officers, can work toward engaging our membership. We can work toward visioning, and we do all those things connecting with members, but we don't always know the way to be most efficient when it comes to sending communications out and building things and running things like member clicks and doing conference registrations and all those. And the fantastic staff that we have really makes this organization run well. So I bring a lot of gratitude to Kelly Abraham and the national staff. And Kelly is with us. And Kelly, would you share your director's report and also give a word of thanks to the staff in Louisville and spread all over? We're not just in one place anymore. So Kelly, thank you for being here.
Yep, you bet. Just an update from the office. A couple of things that we want to lift up with regards to what's happened in the last year. Some of our work has, as you've already heard, is to expand our membership resources. And so we're working with our regions to let folks know, what do we have out there? What are we doing to support you in your ministries? And so I can tell you we've got more regional events that are happening. One happened last weekend in Iowa. There was a handbell festival that reached 62 people, many who are not involved with PAM and have seen PAM for the first time. In the fall, we're going to have the Mid-South region will have a choral festival. We hope that will reach out to some folks. There was an event in March in Denver with the Rocky Mountain region. 30 people learned about PAM, and we had an event on St. Simon's Island in partnership with the Association of Small Congregations that reached out to some new PAM members. So we are doing the work to provide the resources that you need. The other thing I would mention to you is the Educational Resources Committee is working on retooling our Town Hall Forum series to make sure that what we're presenting, again, is what you need. I think we've said this before, I'll say it again. calltoworshipjournal.org is another website that you as a member have access to access the call to worship lectionary aids and the thematic issues. You can still get those PDFs on your members only page through PAM, and we have a link to it on your members only page too. But the fun thing about the calltoworshipjournal.org website is this was created in partnership with Theology and Worship, and they're putting in a little more functionality. Your Call to Worship editor Sally Ann McKenzie is putting some artwork in there. There's also a fabulous search function where you can search by scripture passages to find resources that you need. You may not be a lectionary church, and that was one of the reasons why we put that in there. Additionally, again, we're working to expand our member involvement with our regions and with committee work. And so it's really fun. We're getting to see members join and participate and help lead PAM, provide resources, and be involved in this community. So we're excited about that. Financial stability, you heard from Brent. We're really excited. It is a really great time for PAM. At a time when denominations are shrinking, PAM continues to grow. And so every year that I've been here, our membership has increased, and we're seeing that again this year as well. I continue to attend events around the country, trying to reach folks who I think might need our resources. And it continues to amaze me how many people I run into that say, for example, I've been a church musician for 27 years. How come I've never heard about PAM? And my answer is always, that's why we're here today. So we will keep reaching out to folks to let them know we're available. And because we're financially stable, we're able to start doing more of that stuff right now. Expanding sources and funding. You heard from Brent. We have funds now that are able to provide scholarships to small churches through the gift of Dana Mitchell. We are working to continue to raise money to create funds like the Davis Floor Fund that will fund in perpetuity positions at the Worship and Music Conference. That is really helping us free up some operating expenses so that we can hire the staff that we need and we can provide the resources that you need to support you. The next big source of funding we're working on is the First Call community, and that was announced in the newsletter. We are working to raise $500,000 to support this community. I can tell you that PAM is being asked by the denomination to talk about this. This is something we're learning more and more about, that seminaries are not able to work with congregational seminarians who are looking to go into congregational leadership the way that we need them to be. And musicians aren't getting that training when they're going to grad school or undergraduate as well. So this focus is a deep need for our denomination. And as a result, we're seeing a lot of interest and a lot of excitement. I can tell you last week we received a grant from First Presbyterian Church in Dunedin to help support that First Call community initiative for this summer. As a result, we'll be able to bring 8 to 12 folks to the conference and that are in that First Call community to participate. So this is needed, and we're finding a place where what our gifts can provide the churches need. And so we're excited about where this is going to go. The other exciting thing we're starting to see are these expanded collaborations and partnerships. I mentioned earlier, our South Atlantic Puerto Rico region partnered with the Association of Small Congregations this year for their conference on St. Simon's Island. It is crucial that we work with the small church. That is the majority of churches in this denomination. And so South Atlantic has chosen to continue that partnership into next year. We have been working now, we are in the 3rd year with Stewardship Kaleidoscope. That is a conference, an annual stewardship conference that takes place. It's sponsored by Texas Presbyterian and the Presbyterian Foundation. We are now contracted with them to lead their worship services. So this is exciting. The other things we're starting to see, well, as you know, Financial Aid for Service, we partner with them and they provide the wonderful membership gifts for all first call worship leaders. And again, we've got that wonderful gift again for 2024. So if you know worship leaders in their first call, have them reach out to Mark Kemp. Lastly, we are working with Theology and Worship on their evangelism conference this fall. Juan Carlos Acosta and Philip Morgan and David Gambrell are your worship leaders who will be working together. So it's great to see that PAM is becoming a resource for the denomination. It says a lot for all of you, so thank you. And again, I would be remiss in saying this happens because of the strong staff that we are able to put in place to support all of you. Lisa Myers is your event coordinator. What she does is nothing short of amazing with the Worship and Music Conference, but she's also helping coordinate events for our regions. And so again, we're growing, we're shifting, we're trying to see how we can support, and we're making it happen, and we're really excited about it. Bill Davis continues to serve as our development manager. Bill has done a lot over the last 3 years. Your Beer and Hymns event has happened because of him. He's increased annual congregational giving. We now have an advancement plan and an annual case for support in place because of his gifts. Sandra McDonald serves as your grant specialist. The grants we get are because of the grants that Sandra so lovingly writes on our behalf. And we also have Mary Oxford. She's the Wizard of Oz behind all this right now. And Mary is our new communication specialist and office manager. And so she's working to do everything that you see on the front end, your newsletters, your social media communications, and promotions for all the regional events. And lastly, we still have our wonderful young adult volunteer, Abigail Lutz. Abigail was ordained in the UCC last fall, but continues to serve as our YAV, and we're thrilled to have her. You'll see her if you attend week 2 of Worship and Music this summer. So again, we are where we are because of you and because of the wonderful staff. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelly Abraham. Those are exciting movements for us all, and each of those 6 things give testament to the progress and work that you all have been doing in the national staff. So a word of thanks from us all to all of you. One of those goals is to expand our geographical reach. And one of the ways that we've been doing that is the development of these regions, because church work in the Deep South is different than church work in the Pacific Northwest, and is different than church work in the New England states. And we can generalize, but when we get down to the specifics of what our needs are and what we're able to offer and what the culture is in those areas, we need to be working really from a grassroots level up. So our regions are vitally important and a big growing edge for us. So much that we have a whole committee. Imagine that. We have a whole committee dedicated to it. Brian Tanaka is our board member that chairs our connecting committee. And Brian has a word for us. I am quick to say thank you to all our region leadership, because that's a microcosm of what PAM is. PAM is a member-driven organization, and I will say it a million times. We are only as good as the work that we do together, not how we consume these things, but how we do it together. So Brian, would you share with us some words about the connecting committee? And during that, I'm going to put some slides up with our region leadership.
Thank you, Mark, Kelly, Brent. So my name is Brian Tanaka, and I am chair of the connecting committee. And as you know, PAM is in a true period of growth. And because of that, we often experience the full spectrum of emotions that come along with that. And so I just want to remind ourselves that this is completely normal. So over the past several years, we have established 10 active regions, and we're working on the remaining 2 regions, fostering member-centered relationships through having these region-hosted events and partnerships. The board of PAM has allocated personnel and office resources via the PAM National Office as a way of supporting the work that these regions are doing. And so together, we are all advancing PAM's mission together. If you personally would like to get involved with your region, what I would recommend is go to the PAM website and click on the regions tab to find the leadership within your region and reach out to them. If you are unable to find who your leadership is, or you can't find their contact information, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I encourage you to explore all of the region homepages and even consider registering for an in-person event or a virtual event. Believe it or not, you can actually register. If you live in the East region, you can register for a virtual event that's hosted in the South Central region. So feel free to go outside of your region virtually, and as well as checking what these pages have historically recorded and captured on their region pages. Regions are the heartbeat of PAM, and the work they're doing is the present and future of our absolutely beloved organization. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Brian. I'm grateful for the work that you do and how you keep us all connected and encouraged in what we're doing for PAM. It is mid-April, which means it's almost mid-June. Everybody's excited to hear that. It might bring a little bit of anxiety to our conference co-directors because that's not far away, but I know that they've been doing great work. Our conference planning team has been doing great work. One of the co-directors is Linda Lovins, and she is here with us today to give us a snapshot of what's to come that we are all looking forward to. Linda.
Thank you, Mark. I am so excited. Yes, we are 58 days out from our opening worship, but who's counting? G and I are just delighted at the vibrance and the things that are happening, the connections that are being made. We have kept an eye on small churches that most of us serve. And so we're aware of things like the challenges of finding a new organist when your organist or pianist needs to leave, finding church musicians. And so we're trying to entice youngsters to think about becoming engaged with playing the organ. We, in keeping with the board's desire to facilitate a look at some different ways of doing worship, we are going to have this year both a guitarist and an organist. This gives us a new way of looking at worship, at the music side of worship, and we're quite delighted to have Martin Tell and Rodrigo Almeida working together on the music aspect. One of the things that has particularly delighted me as a co-director is the connectivity that people have made. The work that one person is doing feeds into the work that another person is doing, and their ability to connect and bounce ideas off one another and to strengthen one another's offerings has just been utterly amazing. I'm delighted to report that our registration today at this moment is 1,238 persons. That is 60 more than we had for registrants at this time last year. Our numbers have consistently stayed throughout registration, have stayed above what last year's was, and I'm encouraged. We expect, of course, a bump as we get to the end of this particular level of registration, and we get a bump in the cost as of, I believe, May 1st. We expect there to be a new bump, and our goal, and we're hoping you'll all help us reach it, our goal is to have 1,500 registrants by the time we gather 58 days from today. So the faculty is gearing up. Lisa Myers makes our lives as easy as a co-director's life could be at this juncture. She's so organized and balancing 3 conferences in their various stages all at the same time. So I cannot sing her praises enough. And I'm just delighted that we have the privilege to work with her and the privilege to work on this conference. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. I hope you'll say hello when you're there, and I hope that you're going to love what it is that this faculty, this stellar, amazing faculty, is going to bring to this conference. It starts with prayer in the morning that will be offered outdoors, weather allowing, and it will end with some wonderful evening activities. And you know that there will be just fabulous, fabulous seminars and rehearsals and opportunities to learn and opportunities for fellowship in between. It's an exciting conference, and I just can't wait to see all of you there. So let's get to that 1,500 registration mark, and feel free, let's go above that. But G and I are just delighted and eager to see all of you. So thank you so much, Mark, for this opportunity to say hello and to share the good news and the excitement. Thanks.
Linda, thank you. And thanks to your great planning team together for all the work that you've done. We're excited to see you all on the mountain. Speaking of things coming to be and things that are just ahead of us, PAM has a lot going on, as you've heard, and we need a lot of support for that. And our development efforts are headed by Bill Davis. Bill is with us and is going to share our case for support for 2024, so you can hear how that's moving. Bill.
Thanks, Mark. Friends, it is a joy, honor, and privilege to work on your behalf, raising funds for this beloved organization. We do this in many ways throughout the year. In the fall, we have our annual All Saints Give to PAM campaign. For the last 2 years, we have raised over $25,000 on All Saints Day and following because of your generosity. You've heard about our Sustainers program. Monthly donations help us better budget for these regional events, for the programmatic resources that you receive as members. A sustaining gift doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be $100 or even $50. If you're able to contribute $10 a month on a recurring basis, that helps us better plan for our future as an organization. I'm excited to share again this summer during our 2 weeks of annual conference, our Beer and Hymns event. This year we'll be moving to the White Horse Music Room there on the corner of Black Mountain as you head up to Montreat, with a grand piano and professional sound system as we gather to celebrate and to sing hymns together to celebrate your generosity. Friends, we could not do this fundraising work without you. If you know members of your churches that might be willing to make donations to PAM, please reach out. Let me know who they are. I've asked the board the last 2 years to provide names of folks in their contexts that I can reach out to, and it is through some of those contacts that we are able to grow support for our annual fund. If you have any questions about supporting our wonderful organization financially, please give me an email or call anytime. Mark, Kelly, thanks for time to share this afternoon.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you for your great work. It's amazing that we have so many ways and so many things to be grateful for, so many ways that the work is supported, and so many people who want to contribute financially to this work of PAM. So thank you for what you do. As we're talking about the future, it won't be long before we are talking about the 2025 conference, and you all know that that work has been going on for more than a year already. So we're pleased that Amy Cernelia and Elizabeth Dybert have been heading those efforts as co-directors. Amy is with us. Amy, can you share with us the work that you all have been doing and tell us a little bit about what we had to look forward to?
Yes, thank you, Mark. I'd love to. It might be a ways off, but Elizabeth Dybert and I are really excited for 2025. Our conference theme, Clothed in Love, is inspired by Colossians 3:12-17. This scripture passage gives 5 ways to clothe ourselves in Christ, and that includes compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. So our daily worship will help us live into those words with Margaret Amer's preaching, David Gambrell's liturgy, dancing and drumming, and all kinds of worship arts united by love. Lauren Wright Pittman has created a beautiful logo with symbolism for baptism, communion, Christ's hands, and more. And singers of all ages are going to be inspired by choir directors like Amy Katsanis, Michael Burkhart, Brandon Waddles, and Linda Hessler. Our co-service musicians, Tom Trenny and David Lamont, are going to provide a really unique and special Monday night peacemaking concert musical event that includes both organ and guitar. We are really thankful for an awesome faculty and planning team, especially Lisa Myers on staff and Brian Liu from the PAM board. I am so grateful to serve as co-director alongside Elizabeth, who fills all of our planning meetings with Christ's love. And I'm grateful to everyone at PAM supporting this conference. So come clothe yourselves in love in 2025.
Amy, thank you. That's very exciting. And we're so glad to hear of that work going on. We're grateful for all that you all are doing and all that you will do. And we keep you all in prayer in the days to come. We are not at the end yet, but I'd like to take just a minute to know if you have any questions, finance questions, structure questions, what's going on with this? You mentioned so-and-so. Now's a good time to bring those up. You can type those things in the chat. You can unmute your microphone and shout your name out, and we'll call on you and find you. What questions might you have at this point? Kelly Abraham is watching our chat. Kelly, if you see anything that shows up there, let us know.
And yet,
Okay. We are seasoned veterans, many of us, and it's great to see this work. I remember my very first board meeting, I think it was in 2007. I said to Vicki Fay, I'm excited to hear all the secrets and inner workings of how PAM goes. And I'm also glad now to say that there are no secrets and inner workings. It's just hard work by so many people that get together and do the work of PAM. We talked about how this is a member-driven conference. Brian said that regions are the heartbeat of PAM, and they truly are. So we invite you. I'd like to share with you the story about two people who are passionate about how we receive and show hospitality to new members and to people who are attending conferences for the first time. So a new committee of PAM is the new member engagement PAM, and it's headed by Claudia Gatewood and Clay. Oh, nope. Clay's last name is not Oglesby. Clay. It is Oglesby. Ha, I was right. But they came with a passion that they wanted to address. And we're glad to not only name somewhere that we had a need, but also to fill that. So they received yesterday a contact list for new members and for people attending the conference for the first time, and they are tackling that list. So as you find ways that PAM can be more supportive or find more work to do, not find more work to do, but ways that we need to serve one another, would you please raise your hand and find yourself in the middle of that work? So Kelly, we have a question that came in on our chat.
Timothy Tarpley asked about, and I'm gonna, Timothy, make sure I'm right. SE music event. Do you mean Southeast music event? I think that's what you mean.
Okay.
That would be, and depending on where you are in the Southeast, it could be South Atlantic, Puerto Rico. It could be the Mid-South region. If you are talking about Mid-South region, that would be Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, and Tennessee. They are hosting a choral festival this fall at Idlewild Presbyterian Church, and that will involve Landry Duvall and Patrick Scott. Oh, good, you said yes. Okay. So that is what the Mid-South region is doing this year, and the South Atlantic Puerto Rico worked on the Association of Small Congregations partnership this spring.
Awesome. Tim, thank you for that question. You can find all those region events listed there on the webpage, on the PAM webpage, presbymusic.org, under the regions tab, and it'll keep you up to date. And as Brian said earlier, we can cross-pollinate and share in one another's things and learn from one another, even across region bounds. So thanks, and Tim, we hope we'll see you there. Are there any other questions or not other questions?
One more.
Oh, one more. Go ahead, Kelly.
Who is the region leadership for the South Atlantic and Puerto Rico region? This is Thomas Lyons. Mandy Keithley is the person that you want to reach out to right now. Mandy, and I know you're going to want to know her email address. I will put it in the chat for you.
Great, great. Okay. I would like to introduce Brian Liu. Brian, did I see you here? Brian is the chair of our Awards and Scholarly Activities Committee, and Brian has a presentation to make.
I don't see him.
Do we not see Brian? Okay, then I will have a presentation to make. Part of one of the joys that the board has taken on and has set apart for us is to identify people who have been leaders and done meaningful work for the organization over years. And it really is wonderful to look back on all the people who have taken PAM from where we began to where we are over the past 50 years. These people have not been leading for 50 years. I don't mean to imply that, but it's wonderful to see all the people who have played major roles. And the board sets apart honorary lifetime membership awards for people who are particularly engaged in ways and have sustained leadership roles through things. So I would like to introduce first Mary Reed, who has a presentation to make. Mary, are you here?
I am here. There I am.
There you are.
I want to greet my cherished friends and new friends. This is very impressive stuff here. I am honored to introduce my friend and coworker in Christ, Ron Byers. Ron grew up in Nebraska and has served in pastoral ministry and congregations in Michigan and Kentucky. In 1999, he joined the faculty of Union Presbyterian Seminary in Richmond, Virginia, where he taught for many years and also served in administration. Ron has written many books and writes as one whose view has been shaped by congregational life and liturgy. His latest is Preaching and Praying as Though God Matters in the Post-Establishment Church. I highly recommend it. Ron has served PAM as a board member in the class of 2006. In the area of conferences, he has served as a planning team member, liturgist, and seminar leader at Montreat, as well as a liturgist in Albuquerque. I am personally blessed as Ron and Susan now live in Lexington, Kentucky. I live very close to that. And we worship together at First Presbyterian in Lexington. Thank you, Ron, for your service to PAM and to the church.
Ray Ron, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary, for your kind words. I know you and I were together on the board for some years, and I've appreciated Mary since way before that and way after that. Pam has meant a lot to me over the years. I've learned so much from knowing some of you and getting a connection with the deeper kinds of music that are so important, have become so important to me. My real interest is in worship and preaching particularly. And that includes the sacraments, the liturgy of the church. And so many times when Susan and I, my wife, a musician herself, when we come home from church on Sunday, are talking about how important the music was in embodying a communication not only to the mind, but also to the heart. And that's the kind of things that you are expert in. And for that, I am very grateful and have very high hopes for the contributions you can make to a church which desperately needs the kinds of things you have to offer. Thank you so much. I'm really honored for this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. What a joy. And we are grateful for the ways that you have been a part of and led this organization. One of the very first conferences I went to, I was glad to sit in one of your seminars, and it was wonderful. Ron has also been engaged with our First Call community, leading one of the first online gatherings 2 or 3 years ago. So Ron has a broad reach, and we're grateful for your presence among us. Wonderful. I'd also like to call on Melissa McNair King to make a presentation.
Name's Melissa McNair King, and I get to introduce today honorary lifetime. Oh, am I still muted? I'm good. Okay. Honorary lifetime members, Ann and Bill McNair. Both Ann and Bill have been serving the church through music for pretty much their entire lives. Ann's first church music job was in 1974 while she was a student at St. Andrew's Presbyterian College, and Bill's was in 1976, just upon graduation. They served congregations for many years in the Atlanta area, then in Columbia, South Carolina, finally in Savannah, Georgia. And some of you heard them talking about how they are about 3 days into a move back to Atlanta, so they get even extra stars for attending today. Bill has served Pam as a Montreat Music and Worship Conference planning team member, a conference co-director, an adult seminar leader, and as collaborative pianist. He has contributed to the Pam Anthem series. And one thing you might not know is that he also maintains a website called Hymns for Organ, where he freely shares his hymn arrangements, reharmonizations, and introductions for organists to download and use however they like. And he is too humble to broadcast it himself. But it reflects decades worth of his work, and it is a gift shared in love. Anne has also served Pam as a Montreat Music and Worship Conference planning team member, a conference co-director, an adult seminar leader. She has been a children's choir director, both for the Montreat Conference and for the Old Mo Ranch Conference. She has been a Pam board member, board president, member of the Financial Development Committee. And many of you probably know that with everything she does, she goes above and beyond the call. If you have ever gotten to work with her or nearby her, then you know the joy and collaboration and kindness that she shares. Both Ann and Bill love Pam because, like all of you, they believe in our collective power through music and worship to transform lives for the better and to bring us closer into God's presence and to help the broader church live out its calling as witnesses for God's kingdom.
Ann and Bill, thank you and congratulations.
Unmute. And Bill,
Can
you were
you hear
muted.
us now?
Yes.
We are humbled and honored to receive this designation, and Pam has meant so much to us. I think directing the Montreat conference was one of the highlights of our professional life, and we have received far more from Pam than we feel we have given to Pam, and we continue to support all the initiatives and all the wonderful resources that are provided for the membership.
Thank you all, Ann and Bill and Ron. Thank you for who you are and for who you are to Pam and the ways that you have served and can continue to serve and be a part of this great organization. We have all learned from you, and we're grateful for the example that you set. So thanks to the three of you, and we look forward to more opportunity to collaborate with you in the days to come. And thank you to Mary and thank you to Melissa for making those presentations with us. Friends, this has been a great time together. I am grateful for your presence here, for the time that you've set aside to hear of all the great work that we are doing together for PAM. So on behalf of the board, on behalf of the national staff, and with my personal thanks, I look forward to seeing you at a conference soon or at a region event soon, or maybe online at a hallway conversation, wherever that leads us. So for now, go in peace and go in God's love. Peace to you.